Welcome to creating your very first online summit. My name is Genevieve Kahn, and I'm going to be your presenter. Now, what you want to do is take good notes. Hopefully, you've printed out the workbook that came with this webinar, or you've at least been able to look at the notes that came with it. What you want to do is write down any questions that have come up for you as this is going on, because at the very end, I just want to make sure, wait a second, am I sharing my screen? So, quick background on myself. As I said, my name is Genevieve Kahn, and I have 10 years experience in the online world. I've been trying, I have in the past tried so many businesses, I can't even mention how many. It's been a long road, but I've learned so much. And what I'm trying to do with this webinar, and what my intention is for you, is that I give you my knowledge so that you don't have to go through everything that I went through, especially when it comes to creating your own online summit. Now, what is your goal? Is your goal to build your email list? If so, do you currently have an email or newsletter service? If you don't, you can check out the link that I have right here, genevievekahn.aweber.com. And what I can do is I can show you really quickly what that is going to look like. So I'm actually going to type in genevievekahn.aweber.com. It's kind of my own link, my personal link that I'm sharing with you. And what you do there is you either sign in, you can try Aweber for free for 30 days. And after your 30-day trial is over, you can sign up, if you wish, for only $19 a month. So it's very reasonable. Now, will you charge for your event, or will it be free? I am going to go to the next slide here. So if you're charging for your event, it's better to call it a course or a masterclass, because if you call it a summit, a lot of people will assume it's free. So either way, you just want to make sure that there's as little confusion as possible. So best to do like I mentioned. Call it a course, training, or masterclass if you're charging for the event. If it's free, you want to call it a summit. Now, do you have other goals? Has anything occurred to you that I haven't mentioned yet? I mentioned, first, one of your goals could be building your email list, growing your community, any of that great stuff. So what other goals do you have? You want to take a few moments right now to write them down. I'll just be silent for a minute or so to give you time to write them down. I probably won't make it a full minute because it'll probably get a little boring. Now, are you not sure about the goals that you want? Maybe you just want to have a really great community with your event. If you're not sure about your goals while you're watching this webinar, what you might want to do is take some time to journal. If you have a journal already, that's great. Or if you just have a piece of paper, notebook, or anything like that, that's totally fine. Whatever you want to do, what you want to really ask yourself is, what is your goal for this event? Because when you have more of a goal for your online event, it makes everything really gel very well and makes everything come together. And your focus is going to be a lot sharper. So what you want to do as well is title your event. This way you cement the goal for you and for your participants when you actually have a name for it. So as you can see, it really, having a goal and having a name, it really just makes everything start to come together for you. So what you want to do though, and you want to pick a date as well. What date do you want to have it? When you pick a date, you want to keep in mind that you want to leave at least 6 weeks between the day you start planning your event and the day that you actually want it to be either live or released or playing. Very important, because if you don't give yourself enough time, you may not get everything done that you need to get done. So during week 1, here's some logistics I'm going to be walking you through throughout this webinar. So week 1 of the 6 weeks, when do you want the event to be? What date? How long do you want it to be? Now, most people don't want a long event. They want to get their information and move on to other things that they need to do in their day. So you kind of want to take that into consideration. And when is the promotional period going to be? This is the period of time where you'll be promoting your event. Again, you'll want at least 6 weeks between the day you start your planning and the day your event is going live or is being released. Next, will you have guest speakers, or will you do this by yourself? For example, on this webinar I'm giving right now, obviously, I'm the only one. Most of the time, when you're giving a big online event like this, you're going to want to have guest speakers. You're going to want to have not only people to present their wisdom and expertise, but also you may want to have people that will help promote the event for you, or with you, I should say, so you get more viewers or more listeners. I've had events just like my last video series called Abundance Masters. I had 15 guests with me, and it was a really great event. It was a lot of fun too. So what do you do when you want guests? If you want an affiliate program where you have a paid event and you do a revenue share with your speakers who have brought in paid guests, let me know during our Q&A at the end if you'd like me to talk about an affiliate program. And like I mentioned before, how do you find guests? If you don't have any specific guests in mind yet, well, you might want to make a list. Who do you know in your field? Make a list of those you've met in person or on social media. On social media, it's a little bit easier because you'll be able to see your connections, whether it be on Twitter, friends on Facebook, followers, or if you have a Facebook page, your business page. And I'll get into this a little bit more later. And you'll be able to make a list of those you've met, you know, the ones that you've met in person, because most likely, if it's for your business, you've met them at some kind of, you know, in-person business meeting. And these people should naturally be in your field, of course, any guests that you want, because this way they have something specific that they can contribute to your event. If you've met somebody that you want to invite to your summit, but they don't do the same kind of thing you do, there's really not much that they can actually contribute to your specific event. Now, have you met them in person or on social media, like I mentioned? For example, in person, you know, I'll just get into that a little bit more. There are networking events. You may have office mates if you work outside your home at a job or in an office. There are conferences, and there's also social media, of course. If you have Facebook friends, maybe fans, maybe you have Twitter or Instagram followers, or any other place. For example, LinkedIn, I should say. LinkedIn, if you have LinkedIn connections. Sometimes I get really excited and I start to talk really fast, so I better slow it down. So there are so many social media platforms. It's just unbelievable nowadays. Now, how can you meet guests if you have some that you still want to invite or that you want to bring to your event? In person, you can go to networking events, like I mentioned, and conferences. Meetup.com is a great place to find out where your local events are. There are also business groups that are listed out there. You can probably Google them. Like I mentioned, keep it in your field. You can join groups on Facebook, LinkedIn, and others. There are lots of groups on both Facebook and LinkedIn, especially, that you can join. And in those groups, they most likely, if it's one that catches your interest, has something that you can contribute to. or something that is a place where you can find colleagues or fellow entrepreneurs in your field. You can also follow groups on Twitter and Instagram. Also, you want to get and stay active, because if you just show up in these groups, just post and do like a post and run, you're really not building up that know, like, and trust factor. When people know, like, and trust you, they'll want to do business with you. And of course, they'll want to get on your summit or get on your event. So you really want to interact, really get to know people there. Now, in week 2, we're going to collect our guest info and we're going to organize it. So you can place that in a spreadsheet or another document. And I'll show you a spreadsheet, a sample spreadsheet in a little bit. Kind of lost my place here. Okay, great. So you can have your guest info in a spreadsheet or another document. For example, if you're not good at Excel spreadsheets, you can just list, some items in a couple of columns. You can even write it down on old-fashioned paper if you want. Now, if you don't know your guests very well, you actually want to have about a 5-minute conversation with them first, because you want to make sure that you're going to be a good fit. I'm just going to take a sip of water here. Not only, to make sure that you have a good rapport, but you also want to make sure that you're on the same page as far as your event and what you both want to achieve together. And especially you want to make sure that the person has the kind of energy you want and the person has the kind of information that you want to bring to your tribe. When you have somebody as a guest also on one of your events, they really help become part of your community. And it's really kind of fun because you kind of make friends that way. It's definitely worked really well for me. It's really cool. So you want to make absolutely sure that each guest is a good fit, like I mentioned. And now here's some stuff that is needed from your guests. You need some information from your guests. So you want to ask them what their topic's going to be. In other words, what's the subject of their talk or their interview during the summit. I'm going to use the terms summit and event interchangeably, but I pretty much mean in general your event, just for future reference. Now, you're going to want to ask them for their headshot or their picture of their face, their bio, their biography, and there might be some other things that you want from them, personally, depending on your event. You also want to ask them for an RSVP date to bring you the information that you're asking for. This way you have their information in plenty of time for your event. You'll want some way to get in touch with them online as well, unless you have that already. Let's say you're familiar with them on Twitter or you're connected with them on LinkedIn or Facebook. Now, scheduling, very important. You can use a calendar app if you have it so that people can automatically go to your calendar and schedule. Or you can message back and forth or even be on the phone and you guys can figure out what time you'll meet to record if this is not going to be a live event. If it's a live event, of course, you're going to want to schedule that with them as well. You're going to schedule your live event and they're going to need to make sure, of course, that they get on it. So you also want your guests to offer a free gift for your viewers or your listeners, because it's an added incentive to get people to check you out and people to listen to or watch your event. Now, some more in week 2. If you're doing an audio or video, you're going to want to record it so that you can continue to give it to people. Now, obviously, if this is a recorded event, you're going to automatically record it, right? But if it's a live event, you might want to do that as well. For example, right now, I'm giving this webinar live, but I'm also recording it because most people who signed up for this webinar today, they elected to view the recording. So no problem. I've covered both. I'm doing it live and I'm recording it. So it's great. Now, what I'm using right now is I'm using Zoom, and I'm going to be able to share with you a little bit about that in just a moment. Now, Wondershare Filmora is great if you want to do any editing to your video or audio. Most likely, I'll probably edit this a little bit to maybe, trim out kind of the mistakes that I'm making right now. But everybody makes mistakes. It all works as long as you're getting your information, and you've already figured out I'm a little goofy. So it's all good. We don't have to take ourselves so very seriously. So Wondershare Filmora is a really great and inexpensive way to edit your video and audio rather. I think I only paid a one-time, if I remember correctly, it was only like $59 or something like that. So very inexpensive. So you're also going to want a landing page for your summit. Now, a landing page is basically the page that you're using or you're going to use to tell prospective viewers or listeners about your event and, have them sign up for it. So I'm going to show you really quickly here Wondershare Filmora, and I'll show you 22 Social. Here's Filmora. Oops, it already auto-populated. .wondershare.com. And all this stuff, of course, is also in your workbook. So as you can see here, you can either sign in, you can create your own account. And it's a really, like I mentioned, great way to not only you can edit a video or an audio or both. So that's really great. And next is 22 Social. Let's see, where do I have this again for 22 Social? I have to go back to the link because I don't remember it offhand. So I'm going to copy and paste it. That's why I write everything down. It's so important to do. So I definitely would recommend that if you don't already do that. And 22 Social is connected with Facebook. So if you don't have a Facebook account, you're going to want to do that. What I really like about it, it's just a great landing page system, really great visuals, very simple to use, and a really great customer support team they have. So it's really something that I very much recommend. Okay, so you're also going to want speaker agreements. So a speaker agreement for each speaker that you're going to have. This way, there's no confusion about what is expected from you and about what is needed from your speaker. Now, when I did my video series Abundance Masters, I didn't do that, and it worked out fine. However, when it comes to something in the future, I think I'm going to do that because I really don't want there to be any confusion. So I have come up with my own speaker agreement, which I'm going to show you momentarily. Now, spelling and grammar are incredibly important. Now, before I continue that, I forgot to read this little part here. Jotform or Typeform are great places to create your speaker agreement. So yeah, spelling and grammar are so important because it looks better. It's just easier to understand. So if you want to have a sample speaker's agreement, you just want to figure out or kind of take a look at what they are, you're going to want to Google that speaker's agreement. Now, when you are checking out sample speaker agreements, you want to customize. You don't want to plagiarize. Okay, very important. Because you want to make sure that what you're looking at is something that you can actually use. You can actually use the wording. If it says something like do not copy, or if it has a copyright on it, legally you're not allowed to use that. And I'm sure you know that. I just figured I'd kind of put it out there just in case you didn't know. Now, here's an example. What I did was, this is a screenshot that I took. I Googled speaker's agreement. So you can see those. You can click on those and make sure that the wording is something that is not copyrighted. That's extremely important. And here is a sample of one of my speaker agreements. So as you can see, it kind of looks like a little legalese and stuff like that, but it's really important. For example, the expectations. There are some general guidelines, compensation, intellectual property. All that's very important. You also want to make sure that you don't step on any copywriting toes that way. Like I mentioned before, that's a no-no. And you also want the commitment, the marketing commitment, because it's really important when we're getting guests for our summit that they help us promote, because it'll get more people for them and it'll get more people for you that will attend. Now, here's a sample guest spreadsheet, like I mentioned. And if you're not good at spreadsheets, like I said, it's not a problem. You know, you can still make simple lists online or on paper with columns. So in any particular case, of course, or in this particular case, I should say, you're right in front of you. I took their name, the date that I first contacted them, whether it's going to be a scheduled recording or a live event. I mostly do recordings, but I also do live events, like I said, like this one that I'm recording right now. And you want to track if you have sent them either a live link or a link to your Zoom or whatever you're using to record. You want their email address, their website, the topic, like I mentioned before, things like that. I also have a column here for notes or related links. So that's the basic spreadsheet that I use. But like I said, you don't have to do this if you're not comfortable with it. Now, in weeks 3 and 4, that's when you're really going to want to conduct your interviews. You'll want to keep track of everything on the spreadsheet or document, and anything that was similar to what I just showed you. And you have to make sure you're really recording if your event is not live. I've had situations, actually one time, it wasn't too long ago, my podcast with my friend Dr. Rachel Haviland, Reclaim Your Health. One time we did an excellent, fantastic interview, and actually with a friend of ours. And it was just, we were so flying high. We were so excited. We couldn't wait to put the podcast out. Come to find, we forgot to record it. So you want to make sure you're recording, no doubt about it. So, and you, like I said, keep track of everything. You'll be in good shape. Now, the interview process. Basically, the process itself, as far as conducting the interview, any questions you're going to ask, you can plan all of that and record, and I should say, write all that down for yourself ahead of time, what kind of questions you're going to ask. Now, as far as the, getting the interview recorded or having it live, you can either do something like a live stream for a live event, or you can do it on Facebook, like Facebook Live. That's generally for free events. I'm not sure if Facebook allows Facebook Lives if you have paid for it. Maybe if it's in a paid Facebook group, that might be doable. So you want to check that out, because you don't want to violate Facebook's terms of service. Now, if it's recorded and you don't have Zoom yet, Zoom is a great online meeting app. In fact, it's what I'm using right now. So I'm going to go over and show you here. Where did my cursor go? Here we go. Let's see. Oh, this is not working like that. Okay, no problem. What I'll do is, okay, this will work. Here's Zoom. So as you can see, there's a free service. Now, the thing with Zoom and the free service, let me make this a full, yeah, this is much easier. With the free service, if you're going to be on for more than 40 minutes, it's going to automatically kind of stop your video. So it only lets you record for free for 40 minutes. Now, if that doesn't work for you, Zoom has a very inexpensive option. It's only about $16 a month. So that's what I do, because I don't know if I've ever been able to present much of anything that's less than 40 minutes. I just talk too much. So I think it's a really good way to go, personally. And of course, it's up to you. And you're going to want a good microphone or headset. Very, very important, because you don't want to sound like you're too far away. And you can have one of those mics that kind of stand up, those large microphones, and they're kind of like on a desk or a tabletop. I personally have what's called a lavalier microphone, and it's one of those microphones that you can just clip to your shirt. So I actually didn't write down lavalier for this webinar, but I'll spell it for you. Lavalier is spelled L-A-V-A-L-I-E-R. So that's L-A, V as in Victor, A-L-I-E-R. And you can look that up on Amazon or any place else that you shop online. They have really good lavalier microphones on Amazon. That's what I'm using right now. Oh, and it's very inexpensive. I think I only paid like 20 bucks for mine. And I really like it a lot because it's really good sound. And you want a really good webcam with great lighting. And so if you already have a good webcam, that's great. And if you have good lighting, you're going to want excellent lighting actually around you, because you're going to want to make sure that your face is well seen, of course. So you can get what's called a ring light or a halo light. That's also available on Amazon if you're not, if you're not too comfortable about your webcam that comes with your computer. So I have pretty good lighting in my office. I have a couple of lights around me, so that tends to work pretty well for me. And I usually have good daylight coming into my room, if it's, of course, during the day. So you can definitely look into that as well. And all the stuff I mentioned with the microphone or headset that you can use, like I mentioned, good audio and good video, of course, with great lighting. You definitely want that. So, like I mentioned, both of those are available on Amazon if you want to check that out. Now, if you're just doing a recording, which is just an audio, you can use freeconferencecall.com. It gives pretty good audio. You're still going to want to make sure that you have an excellent microphone. So week 5, you're going to want to start going on your promotional copy and your images. What I mean by that is your posts and your emails that you're going to use to promote your event so you can get people to sign up. And you're going to want nice images with that, because people respond really well to images. If you just post, let's say, a tweet or a Facebook post or on Instagram, it really wouldn't get as good of a response without a picture or an image. So anything you want to post, really, you want to have an image. They also, because people, the reason why they respond to that is they want to see what you're talking about, as much as possible, because it makes it more real to them. Otherwise, it's just too abstract, and your audience actually could lose interest. And again, just a reminder, spelling and grammar, extremely important. Now, part of the copy, which is basically, promotional copy, is just the wording that you're going to put out there. You want to create one solo email. And that means that it's an email that's only about your event. There's nothing else in there. And I'll tell you why you want people to focus on the event. So if they're interested, or if they're not interested in the solo email itself, with your event, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to confuse them with a bunch of other details or other things that you have in there with the event. For example, when I have an event I'm promoting, I make sure that I do a solo email just about the event itself. Now, if I have other things to say, or any other news to give in my newsletter or my email newsletter, I save that for a separate email. So solo email, very important. You also want to create 5 to 10 posts for Twitter or Facebook or anything else that you have. And you can schedule it ahead of time if you want. There are apps to do that, like later.com or buffer.com. Or you can send it, individually if you have time. I like to pre-schedule my posts, especially when I'm promoting an event, because I just kind of set it and forget it, and it just goes out automatically. I think it makes it a lot easier. And what I mean for 5 to 10 posts for Twitter and Facebook or whatever other social media event you have, what I mean by 5 to 10 posts is 5 to 10 posts that you can rotate, that you can continue to post. So it's not just, post 5 times or post 10 times and that's it. What you want to do is kind of rotate and not use the same post every time, so that you remind folks. There are folks that, you know, maybe aren't on social media that often. You want to post often enough so that you have as many people as possible seeing it, of course. Let's see. Okay, so I talked about, I just want to make sure I'm covering everything here. Talked about Later and Buffer, really good. They each have a free version. And now, if you happen to want help with any of this stuff, I'll be able to talk with you a little bit more towards the end about how you can get more help if you'd like. Now, week 6, this is definitely a week that you want to keep promoting, of course, because it's, you know, it's when the date of the event is, right? So, of course, it's the day that it goes live or the recording is released. Now, if you want, you can pre-sell it as a package if you're doing this, you know, to make some income. So you can have something like, you know, sell lifetime access for, you know, X amount of dollars. So, you know, $40, $50, $100, you know, whatever you decide that you want, whatever price you want to give it. And you want to make sure that you let them know that each interview expires after 24 hours if you're charging. So what that means is it's free for 24 hours. And you might have been on some events, you know, as a participant, somebody, or as a viewer. You might have seen this before. So then after the 24 hours, then they'll actually have to purchase it. And this is only if you're planning on doing this, you know, to sell it. So that's why it's so very important that you want to keep promoting, especially during all the time that I told you about. From weeks 1, not weeks 1, I'm sorry, the promoting is from, you know, weeks 5 and 6. Now, if you wanted to promote, as an aside, if you wanted to promote earlier, you definitely could. You would just need to get all of your ducks in a row that way. You would need to, for example, get your promotional copy and your images set. So you definitely could start promoting from the very beginning if you wish. You know, how you want to do this is definitely up to you. I'm giving you different options. So, oops, I skipped. So now, something that's optional. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not quite, let's see. I just want to make sure that I have this correct. Oh, okay, so this is great. After the summit, yay, woohoo, you get to celebrate. You want to send thank you emails, not only to your participants, to your viewers or your listeners, but you also want to send to your speakers, because it's, you know, it's, who doesn't like to feel appreciated, right? It's just a really nice way to wrap it all up. And it's, you know, it's like a kind of like a really, oh, I thank you, I appreciate you kind of message. So that is a great way. I really love to do that. So you want to make sure that you've sent all that stuff off. Send free gifts that your speakers have offered to your viewers or your listeners. You want to make sure you get that sent off. Now, something that's optional. If you want feedback from your viewers, rather, or your listeners, on how they liked it, you know, what else they'd like to see, you can send them a survey that you create on SurveyMonkey for free at surveymonkey.com. And that's actually very easy as well. I don't think I need to show it to you because it's very self-explanatory. But maybe I should. Let me try that. Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm changing my mind here because I've said that you can look over my shoulder. So here's surveymonkey.com. That's one of the things. This is cool. Isn't that neat? How it's kind of, I like that. So you can hit sign up and you can enter. You've got your username. This is one of my old business names. So you can type in whatever you'd like here and you can create your free account. So that is actually very user-friendly. I really like that. So everything that I'm showing you here should be pretty user-friendly. But if you have any questions as we get into Q&A here, please, I hope you'll let me know. So you want to make sure that you kept everything organized and saved to your computer or printed out for the next time you're going to do something like this. Now, do you still need help? Now, with this stuff, I've covered a lot of stuff in a pretty short time. So there may be some details that you could still use some help on. Now, if you feel at this point like you're all set, you'll be able to do this yourself, that's great. And I'm really excited for you. That's just awesome. However, if you feel like you could really use a little bit more help with finding and inviting guests, organizing the details, drafting the speaker agreements and sending them the interview process, writing promotional social media posts and emails. If you need help with any of that, you can join me for my 6-week program, Rocking Your Online Summit. You'll get a personalized weekly strategy and action session every week, and we're going to be meeting once a week during that. So I'm going to be your coach, I'm going to be your copywriter, and I'm going to be your social media manager. So it's kind of like having all of that all in one. Now, you can reach out to me in between sessions by either email, Facebook Messenger, Skype, or Voxer. I'm on all those. So if you're on any one of those, you can definitely reach out to me. So it's kind of like a personal touch. And with Rocking Your Online Summit, you get 3 bonuses. Now, these bonuses are great for self-care. Self-care is so important, especially for us heart-centered women entrepreneurs. If we don't take good care of ourselves, it's really, really easy to burn out. And I've made that mistake in more than one business. And I have promised myself in the last year or 2, especially, that I was never going to do that to myself again. So these 3 bonuses that come with Rocking Your Online Summit will help you take better care of yourself. Healing Your Energy is an MP3 audio, which is a great way to heal your energy system. There's also Healing with Movement, which is a great video. It has really, really gentle yoga moves in it. And also Up-Level Your Energy, the ebook, is a great way to help you take care of yourself as well. Now, how much do you think all of this is worth? All of this is valued at over $3,000. So it has me as your personal coach, copywriter, your social media manager, and the great bonuses I mentioned to help you take care of yourself. That's what that's all valued at when you add it all up. But for a limited time, your investment in Rocking Your Online Summit is only $997. Now, you can pay that all at once, and if you do, you'd save over $200. But if you want to break it up into monthly payments, that's totally fine. You can do it for 4 monthly payments of $297 each. So either way, you can go to bit.ly/Rocking Summit. So I've showed you this system, and if you need me to show it to you, and so that this way I can walk you through it on a more personal one-on-one basis, then I definitely recommend Rocking Your Online Summit. So now it's time for Q&A. Now, hopefully you've written down your questions. If you are watching this replay, you can always email me with questions at gk@GenevieveKahn.com. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to have Q&A for those who are able to make it live on this webinar. But thank you so much for being here, like I mentioned, and I look forward to helping you in any way I can.